All right, everybody, welcome back to our Tri-State Trends podcast. I'm here with Loretta Aku, and we're going to be going over a lot of the things that she's experiencing as an agent. Loretta, your numbers are off the charts from a standpoint of IULs. You know, it's the thing that you're focused on. It's the thing that you do. I saw you present in Maryland at the Fall Sales Conference. You crushed it. I wanted to get you on here to kind of go over your process, some of the things you do to deliver home the IUL sale. I mean, it's the way you explained it in Maryland was so good because it's like you once you explain it, that's it. There's no other product, which I'm so familiar with because I wrote a lot of IULs in my time. So I do understand that. I do want to get your perspective on it. But before I do that, first off, how are you today?
I am doing amazing. Blessed and highly favored.
Amen to that. Now, how did you find Family First Life, and how did you start getting into this? Because life insurance is kind of a whole different animal, you know? So, and you usually find life insurance by looking for it. Most people who find it, whether they're going to sell it or whether they're going to buy it, are looking for it. So how did you find Family First Life, and how did you get into finding out that the IUL sale was going to become your baby?
Yep. Well, first, Mark, thank you so much for having me here. It's really an honor to be here and just talk about and just share my story and and talk about what I'm doing here. But I found Family First, I would say last year. I was at a previous IMO, and it was just we're just focused on IUL sales to, of course, warm referrals, friends, and warm referrals, warm market referrals, and that's it. And so that was the only way we could distribute that. But I left that for quite a little bit so that I can focus mainly on my career, which is in IT consulting here in DC. And but I've always had this, I don't know, just had this passion for the insurance industry because I truly believe that it is an industry where not only can you make a lot of money, but you can also have a lot of impact, right? And you can serve so many people. And to me, that's truly, really fulfilling. So I found Family First through a friend, actually. And they were, they were talking about it. And also just from people just speak, they were just talking about Family First. And I did my own research. And then at some point, I messaged Joe Basso on Instagram that said, hey, you seem cool. Your team seems like you guys are doing pretty well, and love the strong morals, values, and principles that you guys have there. I'm gonna be on your team, and I gave you no other choice but to
just like
but
that.
to hire me.
So
Yes, literally.
how did you find him online?
Yes. So actually, another friend of mine who knows me pretty well and knows what I'm all about and has an idea of my vision and and the kinds of people that I love to work with and just my personality. I was like, I think that you should check this person out. You should check this team out. They might fit exactly what you're looking for. I think that they could, I think that just the way they go about things, I think that you fit here perfectly. I was like, are you sure? And I checked it and I did some research for a while on on them. And I was like, okay, I like this. And the things he talked about, and I was like, all right, cool. I made up my mind. I prayed about it, of course. And I just asked God to guide me and said, hey, if this is the right move or this is the right place, if this is where you think I should be, then, show me a sign or just let me know one way or the other. And of course, God speaks to us in many different ways. And so I felt really good in my spirit that this was where, this is where I should be. And then I just messaged him and I pretty much gave him no choice but to hire me. And ever since then, it's been great. And then, of course, met Gabe, their partners, met Gabe, and I was like, yep, this is definitely where I should be. Love, and just the guidance and the help and mentorship and everything that they've been able to provide for me has been amazing.
That's fantastic. I love that story. Especially the forceful nature of I'm going to be on your team.
Pretty much. Literally, it was literally, hey, I'm gonna be on your team. We're gonna work together, and I gave him no other. I literally did not give him any choice.
I love it. So you've been selling the IUL for before Family First Life. You knew about the product. You knew that you wanted to kind of keep it as part of your practice. Let's talk about your psychology around it, why it makes sense for clients, and how you make it make sense for agents to bring this value to clients.
Sure. Yeah, so my approach is very, very conversational with clients. I think that one of the things that stops agents um, from selling IULs is because, in our minds, or in a lot of us, in our minds, we think that it's very complicated, right? And we think it's this very hard, advanced product. And it's really not. It's very simple. It's super simple. It's super easy. It is also very what's the word? It's just a conversation. Just think of it as you having a conversation with a friend, with your best friend, about money and finance, and about passing on generational wealth, and about doing the best thing for their financial goals. So that's how I approach it. I don't approach it from a sales point of view. I'm not trying to sell them. I'm not trying to convince them to get something. I'm simply just having a conversation with them about the benefits and how this can actually move them forward financially, and why this is the product and this is the vehicle that you should choose to be a part of your portfolio, because of the returns, especially there. So the way I approach it, like I said, is very conversational. I simply break down a concept called how money grows. At the very beginning, of course, first I will pre-screen them, just to make sure it even makes sense first, because obviously I don't want to talk about IULs and then they can't qualify at all, and now
Right.
we're stuck because it's such a good product that the moment you hear about it, you don't want to get anything else, and you almost feel very heartbroken if you don't qualify for it. And
I
I've
understand.
had that happen so many times, Mark, and then I learned that this is not how it goes. Um, so, and actually coming here with Family First, this is actually the very first time I'm selling IULs to complete strangers, because, like I mentioned before, I've only sold that to friends and
That's
family,
good.
right? And
That's good.
so there is, there is no sales there. So coming here and figuring out that I want to still sell IULs, well, I'm out of my one market. I can't sell to my friends and family, and so I had to figure out what process and what would work for these clients. Like, why would they want to listen to me? Actually, why would they want to have a conversation with a friend on the phone who's a complete stranger, about money and finance, and actually trust them, and actually for them to trust me to disclose everything? So I had to figure it out,
Yeah.
so many trials and errors, trying so many different processes. And then I finally figured out that what I shared in Baltimore is actually what works.
Got it.
And ever since then, it's been working just fine for me. So, like I said, what I'll do is I'll pre-screen them in the beginning to make sure it makes sense first, to make sure they even have a chance to qualify by asking all the right questions, making sure they have no DUIs, felonies, pretty much going through the financial inventory there, and then figuring out what they have as well. Um, and then from there, I'll just talk to them. I'll have them grab a pen and paper and say, hey, we're going to talk about money and finance, and I'll break down, how money grows from there. And then I also talk to them about the different benefits of an IUL, which is the death benefit, the living benefits part, and then the cash value accumulation, and your money growing the market with no losses guaranteed, it being tax free as well, and it being completely shielded and protected in case of any lawsuits or any bankruptcy or anything else at all that could happen in your life.
So right now, I'm just trying to picture this. I got a lead.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, absolute strangers, right? You
Mm-hmm.
get the person on the phone. Is this an appointment or is this a call to close?
Both. So, well, depend. I usually shoot for one call closes first, and I go right into it. And if they say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm currently at work. I cannot do this right now," My boss is looking at me. I can't talk on the phone. I'm like, okay, what time works? And I'll, and then I'll set an appointment. But I go for one call closes first sometimes, and then shoot for appointment.
Okay, so now a one call close on an IUL, I understand. I mean, I've done these. It is aggressive.
Sure.
Now, especially if you're trying to move premium up. Now,
Mm-hmm.
help us understand. So it sounds to me that there's a point in the call that just becomes very educational and kind of soft.
Sure.
Is that
Sure.
is that correct?
That is correct.
Obviously you've asked some preliminary questions to see if having this soft conversation is worth having. But you ask these questions to get to this place of, okay, let's have this soft conversation about money.
Sure.
And the entire time, you're trying to do what?
When I'm having the conversation with them about money,
Mm-hmm.
my intention behind that is to really have them see which where they fall into, right? And so if they're a saver or a spender, I'm figuring that out. And then also I'm also figuring out if if this is something that could possibly help them grow financially. Well, before that, even I've already figured out what their goals are. Do they want to buy a home in the future? Do they want to invest in real estate in the future? I mean, do they want to open a business? Like what their financial goals are, when they'll like to retire, and how much they'll like to have when they retire. What is their, ideally, what would they like to have? And then once I'm going through that presentation, I'm having them picture which category they fall into, right? If they're currently losing money right now, or if they're on track for growth, or if they're even growing money at all.
Got it.
So that's the whole conversation behind it, is to have them. I'm getting them to think about this from an emotional perspective. I'm getting them emotional about their finances.
Got it. Okay. So as you're, marinating
Sure.
the meat and getting it nice and tender for the grill, let's go through that. Let's go past that. So now you're getting them to think about their finances. You're getting them to think about the emotionality behind their finances.
Uh-huh.
And if it's me and you, Loretta, I'm emotional about my finances. You're emotional about your finances. And that doesn't mean we're going to pout and scream and flail our hands. It just means we should have a plan for our
Yep.
finances. I'm emotional about my kids. I got a plan. I'm emotional about my marriage. I got a plan. I'm emotional about my business. I got a plan. I'm emotional because I have a plan, because I wanted to see it go somewhere,
Sure.
right? Doesn't mean I'm kicking and screaming. It just means I'm invested in it, right? So
Mhm.
you're trying to educate to get them invested, more invested, because a lot of
Yeah,
people aren't really invested in their finances, right?
absolutely not.
And you're looking to create that awareness. So
Yeah.
let's go into some of the technical. I got the part where you're getting them emotional, but at some point it does become logical and numerical. Let's go
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, totally. So once I talk to them, once I get them to picture everything else, and then I'll break down the benefits of an IUL and how it can help them get to that goal financially. And then I'll ask them a very simple question and said, hey, if you wanted to set aside money for the future, for retirement, let's just say their goal is retirement. Let's just say that, and to retire in about, let's just say 20 years, for example. How much do you feel comfortable How much do you feel comfortable contributing or saving for retirement? And now I'm asking them that just to figure out where they fall into. And let's say they say, you know what, I can comfortably save about 300 to 500 bucks, minimum 300, maximum 500 bucks, something like that. Then I'll show them exactly what $500 would look like. I'll show run an illustration right there, and I'll show them exactly what that would look like, and in 20 years where they'll be financially. And I break down the illustration, I break down the rates as well and everything else. And then usually most of the time, Mark, they will say, yes, I want this and I want to stay with it, because they see the numbers themselves, and the illustrations is only showing you at like 6.5%. That's it. But obviously it can grow way more than that. So they get to see that and they usually love it. And also keep in mind, Mark, most of the time, these people who are actually looking for IULs already have done some type of research about what it can do for you. Some of them. The ones who haven't maybe have heard of something that could potentially help them get ahead financially, and they just need someone to break it down to them in details. So after showing them the numbers, I mean, the numbers don't lie. People lie, numbers don't lie. So I'm showing them the numbers. And once you show them the numbers, it is very hard for you to, it's very hard for them to say no to that because they clearly see it right there. I mean, you have to, unless you absolutely do not have the money at all. But you've already overcome that objection in the very beginning when you ask them for about their finances and you ask them about everything and you figure out where they were. If it's just someone that is just looking to get a quote, you have to let them know that you're not here to provide quotes. You're not a quote agency. You're here to help them financially. And so if I kind of gauge that they're just here to just get a quote, I'm not wasting my time. I'll book an appointment for another time when when you're in a better financial spot. But if I sense that they're ready to go and they're ready to take charge of their finances, then I'll go right ahead.
Got it. How do you go from illustration to application?
Yep. So I'll just show them the illustration and I'll ask them. A lot of times I try to convince them to go a little lower. And the only reason I do that is because I sometimes people see the numbers, they get excited, you know what I mean? They're emotional about it. They're like, yes, I can do 10 a month. It's like, no, 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 hold on. Let's slow down a little bit. I try to convince them to go a little lower. And if they're very adamant about just staying at, let's say, $500 or $1,000, then I know that they're really serious about that. But if they do try to, if they say, yeah, I think that maybe, I don't know, $300 would be a better idea, then then in my head, I'm like, okay, maybe we should go a little lower because this could potentially be a charge because they really cannot afford it.
Right.
Because once you get approved, then it gets real. And then from there, once and sometimes, you don't want to have people not picking up because you don't want to have people not picking up or ghosting you because now they're like, oh my gosh, now I have to start contributing $1,000. So I try to make sure that I find a sweet spot that is absolutely comfortable for them. And then from there, I said, hey, the next step is I create some type of urgency. And I said, hey, the next step is to put an application to see if you're even going to get approved for this because not everybody qualifies for it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure that you've told me everything on your medical record, but I don't, we just have to make sure. Hear what the company is going to say. The next step is to put an application. And then here's what I'll need. I'll need driver's license, socials, bank account. I let them know upfront. And I said, would that be an issue for you at all? Oh, no, no, absolutely not. Okay, perfect. So then I'll put up the application and I'll just start filling out the application right there. And I don't have issues with that.
That's amazing. I mean, look, I can buy a policy from you every day of the week. It makes a lot of sense what you're saying. The IUL is a very, very attractive vehicle to financial vehicle for people. If you explain it well, like you just did, you're going to get a lot of people that want to move forward. That's a fact. Whether it's 200, 300, 400, 700, 2,000 a month. It's funny how the premiums can escalate on a product like that because it's like, what do you want to put into this?
Absolutely.
This is like, you're going to get out of this what you put into this, not what I put in. And I always explain it like, term, what you want to hear from me is you want me to tell you what the price is. Cool.
Right.
This is a different product. You're going to tell me what you can afford to put into it.
Absolutely.
What you can afford to put into it is what you're going to get out of it. I'll show you it on this illustration. But there's nothing like someone raising their hand and saying, I could do X a month. There's nothing like that. That is the ultimate buy-in. And then you check to make sure that they can do what they said they can do so that you're not dealing with someone who's, disgruntled, unhappy, and maybe potentially canceling a policy. Yeah. But it's a phenomenal vehicle.
It is.
So I thank you so much for sharing that. And I love to get you on more trainings so you can go into this and talk about some cases that you've done,
Absolutely.
cases that you've written, because you're doing a ton of volume on the IUL side. And believe it or not, we've made a huge transition in the last 3 years to IULs.
Okay.
2023 will be our biggest year yet as FFL. 2024 is going to be a massive year for
I am
IULs.
so excited. I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's
Especially as the process gets better and as the carriers improve their process. I think that it's going to be pretty explosive.
100%. So thank you for trending with us, Loretta. Thank you for jumping on. I appreciate what you're doing out there. Thank you for serving all your clients well, and I can't wait to get you back on.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate being here.
God bless you. God bless y'all. Have a great day. Take care.